All right, Miranda.
Sounds good. Welcome, everybody. And I'm glad there's some new faces here today, too. So yes, today we're working on Adults in the Know series, Beyond the Headlines. And today we're really going to be focusing on some fact-checking skills. Okay, so a little bit about me, if you're new this week. I'm a librarian. I'm a school librarian here in Rochester. And I got my undergrad at RIT here, and I got my library degree in the University of Maryland. And I really love talking about information literacy. So this is a fun topic for me today. So as Grace mentioned, please do interrupt. This is a little facetious joke that I like to put in my presentations. I learn a lot from people in the presentation. So when you interrupt, we have new learning. So go ahead, if you have a question, you disagree, whatever, unmute yourself, put it in the chat. I'd be happy to hear what you guys have to say too. And today is actually a really good day to be doing this presentation. Next week is National News Literacy Week. It's brand new, presented by the News Literacy Project and Scripps. So if you go to their website, they have a bunch of activities, information to help you continue learning on being more news having more interesting information, knowing how to see news and figure out what's true and what's not. Okay, so I mentioned News Literacy Project, and these other organizations inspired this presentation. A lot of the information that I got was from these organizations. So if you're interested in this topic, check out these websites. Checkology has a lot of interactive modules. If you like learning through interaction and testing yourself, it's a great website. First Draft has a lot of articles and things to read, and the News Literacy Project is actually the organization that created Checkology. Okay, so today there's two things that we're going to learn today. We're going to talk about the purpose of various media. In the last presentation, we talked about the CRAP acronym and how to analyze information. So that last P of the acronym, we're going to go over that a little bit more today. And we're also going to talk about the tools. That's the fun part, how to check if something is true and false. So a review of that CRAP or CRAP acronym, as I like to call it. C is for currency. How new is the information you're looking at? R is reliability. Who's saying it? Is it reliable? A is authority. Who's saying the information? What authority do they have to say it? If it's medical information, is the person who's saying it, do they have the authority to talk about medicine? Are they a doctor? Have they done research? And then finally, P is for purpose, which we're going to dive deep into right now. So there's 6 different types of purposes. And the first one is to inform. And I start with this one because it's sort of the best one. It's the one that you can really rely on. Information that is put out there to inform you is also known as the news, and it checks all these boxes here. It gives you context. It gives you minimal bias. It's factual. There's limited emotion. Now, last week we talked about how misinformers can use emotion against us. So that's really important that the piece of information that you're looking at has limited emotion in it. It contains logic, and there are no opinions. So it's really just to tell you what happened completely factually. Now, as we go through the rest of the 6 purposes of information, you'll notice that there's different combinations of these checkboxes. So the next one is selling. That's quite clear. Someone's trying to sell you something. They're trying to make money, which is not a bad thing, but as long as you know they're trying to sell you something, that's what's important. And when some information is put out there to sell you something, there usually is context. There usually are facts, And there usually is logic. It's something that you usually can trust, but obviously the person trying to sell you something is biased towards their product being the best. They might even use some emotion to try to sell it to you. A lot of commercials have, cute animals, cute babies, they're pulling on those emotional strings to sell you something. And of course, they have an opinion that, again, that their product is the best. So the next one here is entertainment. So there's information that's out there, there's media that's out there that's purpose is there to entertain you. And that can come in the forms of many different things, games, books, movies, all sorts of things that are out there. Now, entertainment will typically have context. They're telling a story, usually entertainment is some sort of story. There has to be context for that story. And there can be facts. I put this as a yellow arrow because it's not necessarily facts, but you have sci-fi movies, and those aren't facts, but you can have entertainment that does have facts, like The Daily Show. That is meant to entertain you. And there are things in there that are exaggerations and not true, but there are a lot of facts inside. So that's why I gave that sort of yellow arrow, is that, there can be entertainment with facts, but then there can be entertainment with not facts. It kind of goes both ways. And entertainment usually has logic to it. There has to be some logic to the story that they're telling. And then there's information and media out there that's meant to persuade us, to change our minds. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. That's part of the world, is, talking with people and convincing people of things. Their editorials, columns, commentaries, a lot of blogs and YouTube videos are put out there to persuade you. Now, again, they usually have context, they usually have facts, and they usually have logic. It's a well-reasoned argument. If you were ever on a debate club in high school, these are all the things that you do in a persuasive talk. But of course, if you're trying to persuade someone, you're going to have that bias. You're going to have an opinion, and you might use some emotion to persuade someone. So it's very similar to selling. You're persuading someone to buy something, but sometimes people are just trying to persuade you to adopt a certain point of view or to do something. And then I believe this is the last one, is to provoke. So sometimes, we mentioned this last week, that there are trolls out there. There are people out there that are really just trying to stoke the fire. And so there is media out there that is just there to provoke you. It also, some organizations, I believe it was the News Literacy Project, that labeled provoking information as propaganda. Now, for this one, I just checked one box. There's logic, there's logic in trying to provoke someone, but they might not use context. They might, of course, have bias, and they might have, no facts, completely making things up. They're using emotion against you, and obviously they have an opinion. So this is the most dangerous type of media and information out there, because it's really meant to just stoke the fire, and it's not using these check boxes. Each of these check boxes is something good. It's something that you're looking for in the information that you're digesting. And this one doesn't have a lot of those boxes checked. So be very careful when you see some information out there that is meant to provoke. And what we're going to do now, oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. There is one more. We're going to practice some of these. So after we do this one, we will do a little practice to identify these different types. This one, I can't believe I forgot, because this one is also important. The first one we had was to inform. Now this one is to document, which you might think is hand in hand, but to document something it's really raw. When you have news, a journalist has really taken it and tried to give it its context, tried to apply some logic to it. The journalist has taken it and tried to make it into news. But media that's out there that documents is just raw. It's a video that someone took on their phone of an arrest happening. It is a government document. It's security camera footage. It's anything out there that's just raw information. Sometimes as librarians, we call this primary information, primary source. And it's important. Document information is important because it's it's the root of the information. It's the raw information, but there's no context to it. You need to apply a little thinking to it to make sense of it, to apply that logic in the context. So documented information is important, but it requires a little bit more of that cranial thinking. You need to turn on your brain to digest it. Okay, so I'm going to do one small little slice of Checkology to help us practice this a little bit. Checkology was made for K through 12, geared mostly towards middle school students, but it's really for everybody. So if you find this interesting, go ahead and explore all the modules. There's dozens of them. So here are the 6 different types. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and look at the piece of media and then see if we can label it as the purpose that it has. Okay, so the first one, maybe it'll load, okay, is an article. And the headline is Teenage Boys Wear, oh, it's not loading for you guys. Oh, there it is. Teenage boys wear skirts to school to protest against a no shorts policy. And if you scroll down, we see the photo of the boys. And there is a whole article. Now, we don't have to read the whole article, but the gist of it is that there's a private school. They have uniforms. The rule is the boys have to wear pants. It's really hot. They want to wear shorts. The girls can wear skirts. So they're like, well, it's part of the dress code. We'll wear skirts. So, and it's an article by The Guardian. That might give us a clue too. So thinking about those 6 different types, and there's one below the fold here. And you guys can put this in the chat. You can shout it out, or you can just think it and we'll slowly go through it. So it's up to you. So what do you think the purpose of that piece of media was? We have to persuade, to entertain, to provoke, to sell, to inform, and to document. Okay, I see some in the chat here. Some people saying to persuade. Okay, so we'll keep, so these little blocks move around. I'm sorry, there's quite a lag here, but we'll leave that right there. Okay, we'll leave that to persuade. Okay, so the next one is a short little video clip, and I'll play this. And there is quite a lot of lag here, so I'll describe it to you as it's going, just so we're not missing anything. But basically, there's a girl who's writing at a desk, blowing bubbles, drawing a back to school sign. She grabs it, crumples it up, and then throws it at a wall, and then a little thing pops up that says video every Wednesday, and it has a little hashtag school Isha. So that one, we have 5 left, and we can always, if we come across one that maybe we thought we made a mistake, we can always switch that too. So I see someone saying entertainment, and that's that one was right next to it already too there. So maybe these are already in the order we want them in, but let's see. Okay. Oh, I see some other ones. Someone else said to sell, promote, and to inform. Oh boy, okay, we have like 1 vote of each. Okay, so let's see. Since entertainment was the first one to come through, I'm just gonna leave that one there for now. But as we go through the rest of them, we might change our mind. We might find one that fits in a bucket a little bit better than what we have already. Let this load for you guys. Okay, so Another article, young women are not a distraction to education. We're not just our body. 6 reasons why high school dress codes are sexist. And then it gives some reasons, and I'll read the headline of each reason. Purse sizes, shoulder showing skirts and tank tops, dress lengths, blue jeans, piercings, and hats. So they think each of these dress codes are sexist, and then it explains why each of these pieces are sexist. What about that one? Again, we have to document, to sell, to provoke, to persuade, to entertain, and to perform. I'm not perform, inform. Here are the choices again. It gets hard. I will admit, when I took this quiz, it took me 5 tries to get it right. So, okay, I do have someone had said persuade. Okay, so we had persuade up at the top one. So now, do we think that maybe this third one was more persuasive than the first? I think so. So I'm going to move that one back down here. Okay, so let's go through here and see if we can take a peek at this one. Okay, now this is a comparison, comparing schools to prisons. And it lists a whole bunch of things that are similar between school and prison. You know, that you have to walk in a line, that you have a designated time to eat, you know, all these reasons why school is just like prison. Okay, and so someone did say that the boys wearing skirts might have been to provoke. Okay, and I have someone guessing provoke for this one. Okay. 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to, yeah, so it's tricky. And this is why going to this Checkology site and going through this whole module is important, because it takes practice. This is the pretest to the module, and the purpose of it is to show us that this is hard and you need practice. Just like if you want to be good at hockey, you have to practice. If you want to be good at media literacy, you have to practice. So I see several people saying to provoke, so I'm going to put that one down there. We have 2 left. This one's a little easier. We've got khakis for sale. Quite easy. Okay, yes, I saw someone pop in there with sell. I'm going to put sell down here. Okay, and the last one might help us organize these 2. So here we have, again, I'm sorry, my video is chunked up here, but I'll describe it to you as I play it in case it's a little glitchy for you.
Oh my God, this is gold! It's happening! It's happening! It's gold!
So it's basically a video of a bunch of kids saying, "It's happening! It's a fight! Oh my gosh, it's happening right now!" And standing outside of a middle school. Okay, I see 2 people vote for document, and that actually lined up right there. Okay, so just to review really quick, we've got to document, to sell. I think those are pretty locked in. We had this one to provoke, about the schools and prisons. We had the sexist dress codes to persuade, the little clip about the YouTube channel to entertain, and the story or the article about the boys wearing the skirts to inform. I think we're pretty good. I can't remember exactly, so I'm going to cross my fingers. Good. Yes, we got it all right. So as we went through that, and like I said, I went through this like 5 times before I got it right. So it's normal. Nothing is black and white. I had that zebra slide last week. Nothing is black and white. Things overlap a little bit. but it's good to practice. It's good to do this mental exercise so you can see, oh, this is here to sell me something. So maybe I need to switch my brain and to realize that I need to think this through, before I just buy it, because these people want me to buy it because they own the company. Okay, so let's get back to the presentation because I want to make sure we get time to practice the skills. Do you guys have any questions before I move into the skills part? Okay, we'll dive right in. Okay, so the first skill that I'm going to teach you sounds really fancy, lateral reading. But really what it is just opening another tab to do some research. That's really all it is. It's just a fancy way of saying, look somewhere else to make sure something is right. So for each of the skills, I have an example for us to practice the skill. The first one here, and most of my examples that I have, I pulled right from the website Reddit, which is a great place to waste a lot of time, but also a great place to learn about a lot of interesting things. So this is a post. It says, found this COVID conspiracy poster on a walk today. And it says, Mark of the Beast, Revelation 13:16-18. And then it has a series of pictures. First, create the virus. 2, lockdown. 3, go cashless. 4, install 5G. 5, create RFID. And then finally, inject RFID as a vaccination. And then in the very bottom, it says COVID, COVID 19 actually stands for Certificate of Vaccination Identification 19. So people who are wary of vaccines, it's been going around for a long time, ever since vaccines have been invented. So obviously there's going to be information out there about vaccines now because we're talking about vaccines all the time. So to practice lateral reading for this particular fact check, what we want to do is just ask some questions first. What is Revelation 13:16-18? What does it say? What does COVID-19 mean? Does it really mean what they say it means? And then finally, just ask the question, are there RFIDs in a vaccine? And then the lateral reading portion of this is just opening up a new tab on your web browser to answer these questions. So I did that ahead of time here. First, I searched Revelation 13:16-18, and I found a online version of the Bible, and it is I actually forgot what it was. So it's about, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on the right hand or in their foreheads. So it's talking about marking people, labeling people, which is what they were indicating in this poster. Okay, so now I know what Revelation is. They're saying, oh, this is coming true from the Bible. That's their perspective. Okay. Now I can Google, what does COVID-19 mean? Does it mean that? And as I did that Google search, the first result was from the Center for Disease Control. Now, I trust the government. I trust, as the CDC, and they say that the CO stands for corona, the VI stands for virus, the D stands for disease, and then 19 is the year that it was found. Okay, that makes sense. And then the last question is, we can just ask the question, are there RFID mini microchips in this vaccine? So when I did that, I came to a Reuters fact check website. Now, last week, if you were with us, we had that big chart of trustworthiness and bias. Reuters was right at the top. Reuters is an information, the purpose of it is sharing information, and they're really fact-based. And here it is, false claim, a microchip implant will come with the coronavirus vaccines. And then there's a further article that explains where the information came from, why it's fake, why it's not real. So in my mind, this was just a silly poster that someone made. So I've done my lateral reading. Now, last week we discussed picking your hill to die on, and the fact that the more effort you put into fact checking, the more confident you can feel in your decision. Now, for me, this is enough. I believe that that poster is fake. For you guys are all different. We all have different backgrounds in what we know. You might feel that you need to do more research. You might feel that you need to go deeper, or maybe you didn't even need to research it at all. So it's totally up to you how deep you want to go to decide when you trust something or when you don't. So I have a couple tips with lateral reading too. Some shortcuts to make it easy, because the internet is huge and it's overwhelming. So you can use these websites. They have done the work for you, and they're all very trustworthy. The News Literacy Project put this list together, and they're all websites that have done that checking for you. And they don't just say, this is fake, trust it, or don't trust it. This is real, trust it. They actually tell you how they came to that conclusion, which is important for you to know how they came up with that information. So, Snopes is one that most people know, but there's other ones. If you want to double check somewhere else, go to factcheck.org. I was actually really impressed with Africa Check. I hadn't heard of that one before, and I looked at it and I really enjoyed that website. So there's 9 here. So there's a lot of places where you can check. If you feel overwhelmed by doing the research, the lateral reading yourself, these people have done it for you.
Can I interrupt for a second, Miranda? So I know in my, personal conversations, we come across people who disagree with us and all that. So if you're concerned about the skewing of any of these fact-checking sites, sometimes people don't trust the fact-checking sites. All of these, legitimate organizations should have about pages that tell you their mission or how they conduct their research.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is any trustworthy, legitimate place will be honest about their procedures, about their goals, and they'll just come right out and say it. Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and I will share links to everything. If you guys haven't had a chance to write these down, I'll share that to be emailed at a later time. A few other tips for lateral reading. If you're not web savvy, knowing to do a control click or control T on your browser, that will usually open up a new browser. If you right click on a link, it will give you the option to open something in a new tab. So then you can go back to the original thing, sort of bounce back and forth between tabs. A lot of the time, this lateral reading will take you to Google or to some other search engine. And what you want to do is you want to practice what's called click restraint. You don't want to just click the first results that come up. You want to look through and see, what's the website I'm clicking on? What's their name? Am I familiar with it? Is it a .edu or a .gov or something that I can trust? And then you also want to pick something that's a standards-based versus user-generated. And that's a fancy way of saying, is it a blog? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Or is it a news outlet? You want to go to places where you have someone whose job it is to find right information, not just a random blog on the internet. I'm going to move on so we can make sure we get to the rest of our fun practices. Now, again, I'm sorry if my video is a little slow. I'll let this play through and then I'll explain it after too, because again, it's very short.
Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing.
Okay, so in case any of that was broken up, it's a prominent news anchor talking about Bloomberg's bid for presidency, spending $500 million on advertising. Someone tweeted, wow, that's a lot of money. There's only 327 million people in the United States. Each person could get $1 million on the money he spent for advertising. And they're like aghast and freaking out about it. But if you practice this skill, critical observation, and go back to your elementary math, you would know that no, it does not give each person $1 million. It gives each person about $1.50. So critical observation is very important. I mean, this is a very prominent news anchor who made this mistake with another prominent journalist. And together they still didn't connect the dots that this math was completely wrong. They did fix it. They did admit their mistake later, but they were on air and it already got out there. So this is a very critical example of how important critical observation is. We have to use our brains. We have to really think and not just take it in. Because if you're just passively watching this, what? I want $1 million. Don't spend that on advertising. You really need to, turn on that part of your brain to think about what you're hearing. Okay, so there's other critical observation skills that we can do, and there is First Draft, which is one of the organizations that inspired a lot of the content in this presentation. They have a great observation challenge. Maybe we'll do one or two so we can see, but it's a place where you can practice your critical observation skills. So basically it shows us a location, a picture. And what it does is, doesn't give us any information, but saying, hey, look at this picture, tell me if you can tell where it is, just based on the information you see in the picture. And I know this is kind of small. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Well, it's not going to let me. Okay. So based on what you can see here, does anyone have a guess of where this might be? Okay, someone said Israel. Any other guesses? Poland. Gaza. Lebanon. Okay, so we have a lot of Middle Eastern countries coming up. Now, as you're going through this, think, what are you seeing here that is making you think those things? So let's try a couple of these. So we've got, I'll do Lebanon. We got 2 votes for Gaza. I'll do that first. Okay, Gaza. Nope. Okay, so first hint we have here. Note the Western European architecture. And I'm sorry, it might be kind of small for you guys. It might be difficult to see, but in the background, you can see the architecture. It looks old, and if you know architecture, you would know that that is potentially Western European. Someone did notice the Star of David that's there. Yep. And oh, I see. It actually says Gaza on the sheet. I just noticed that. I didn't even have that as a critical observation. Okay, so the way people are dressed, and some of the flags that are in the background. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try another one of the guesses that we had. We had Lebanon. No. Okay, so the language that's on the banner. Now it says Gaza, EST, and then I can't read the rest of it. But if you might be familiar with French, Est is in French language. I don't know if it is in other languages. So I don't know if that changes anyone's guesses that the banner has French. Someone says England. Okay, so it's interesting because now that we've sort of noticed, oh, okay, there's potentially Western European buildings in the background. There's French now, so maybe we're moving away from the Middle East now. So I see someone saying England. So I'm going to type that in. No, it was France. So I'm not going to go into the next one, but that is a really good practice. You know, we see those things. Obviously, it was some sort of protest or gathering related to things possibly in the Middle East, but it wasn't. It was actually in France. So using those critical observation skills helps us confirm, you know, that a picture really is a place that they say it is, because sometimes it's quite obvious. Okay, so just so we have time to go through all the skills, I'm going to go right back to the presentation. But this is a great place that you guys can go anytime in practice. I think they have about 10 different ones that you can practice. Okay, this one is my favorite tool, Web Archives. Basically, the Wayback Machine is the Internet Archive, and almost every website that is publicly open has been archived on here throughout time. So if I want to go see what the Apple website looked like back when a first iPod came out, I can actually see what it used to look like back at that time. It's really, really fun place to go. So the example that I have to practice this one is a post, again, that I saw on Reddit. It is a screenshot of a Copper Stallion Media, which is a videographer. And it says, today would have been the day where we would have filmed Justin and Alexis's wedding in Colorado Springs. After what Justin pulled with the media stunt to try and shake us down for a refund, we hope you sob and cry all day for what would have been your wedding day. Sorry, not sorry. I read that. I was like, that sounds nasty. That doesn't sound very nice. And so I was like, okay, well, is this real? You know, last week, if you were with us, you remember that there are places where you can auto-generate social media posts to make a screenshot of a fake social media post, Facebook, Twitter, any of them. So I didn't know. Maybe someone just made this fake post to look like it was on Facebook. So I wanted to check. So what I did was I asked some questions first. Always the place we start, asking some questions. First, I asked, is this a real company? Is Copper Stallion Media real? And for that particular question, we're going to use lateral reading, just opening a new tab. And then if so, is there information on the website that talks about this incident? So first I did a Google search, and I found Copper Stallion Media. I found them on Yelp, which is a review website. They had 1-star rating, so I was like, well, something is going on with them. So yes, it's a real company. I know that's real. Okay, so now I want to know, what does their website say? I went to their website and it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. But I can use the web archive to find out what it used to say. So, and I'll actually open this up so you can see what the whole thing looks like. So when you search a website on the Wayback Machine, you basically just put in the whole web address in their search bar, and then it comes up with years. So it will take a screenshot like every year, every few months, even sometimes every day. So you can see that this website was active in 2020. So if you go through, then there'll be a calendar at the bottom, and you'll see little colored circles around every day. And so this was May 24th. There are 5 screenshots, snapshots that were taken of that website on May 24th. And basically you just click on one and it will take you to what the website used to look like. Sometimes there's missing data and you'll get a lot of empty results. You just keep trying and you'll find one. So the one that I found was, I found a screenshot from a couple months before this social media post happened. And it says, on May 20th, our company was subject to an online smear campaign for not refunding a client who died in a car accident. The client signed a non-refundable contract. As a result, friends, family, and strangers have emailed, called, and left reviews of our company on social media. Online bullying is real. We are in contact with local authorities to see what can be done in terms of criminal charges. We are also reaching out to legal counsel to see what legal action we can take to obtain judgment for damages. Like, okay, there was some drama here. And it seems like this guy's fiance died and he asked for a refund for his videographing contract, and the company was quite mean about it, saying, too bad. So I wanted to see, there's always 2 sides to every story. So I dug a little bit more, and I found another screenshot from another date where the company, the Stallion Media Company, actually posted the letter that the fiance sent to the company. And it says, I'd like to push my reservation for maybe 10 years from now in case I ever get married. That, or I could have a refund. And I could send you a picture of the death certificate. I would like to still receive the services if I'm forced to pay with the death of someone in my contract, or a refund. So, okay, I see there was drama, and now I have better things to do with my life. So I left it at that. This was not a hill to die on where I needed to get all of the information and figure out who was right, who was wrong. I formed my own opinion about what I thought of the company, and it wasn't good, and I just left it at that. But this is a great example of how to use those web archives, because if I just went to Copper Stallion website and saw, oh, it doesn't exist, I wouldn't have gotten this further information. So web archives are really fun. It's a good place to just see what the Nike website looked like back in the 90s. Like, it's funny to see what things look like a long time ago. Okay. So the next is reverse image searching. This is another fun one. I guess it's probably on par with web archives. So here we have another post that I found on Reddit. It says, woman struck by a meteorite. And you got this picture of this poor lady with what looks like this nasty bruise on her hip. There was no other information, just this headline saying she was struck by a meteorite. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Yikes. But is it true? Did it really happen? So what you can do is a reverse image search. And I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go to the original content here. And this works easiest if you're using Google Chrome, but you don't have to use Google. Like, some people are not fans of Google, and that's okay. But for me, it works easiest if you use Google Chrome, because it's a quick one click and you can find this answer. So I'm in Google Chrome right now. You put your mouse over the picture and you right click your mouse. There is an option here to search Google for image. So you just do that, you click that, and it will search Google for images that are exactly the same or very similar. And I get a lot more pictures of this poor lady. So obviously there's something going on because there's a lot of pictures of her. I see some pictures of rocks. So that kind of pushes me towards maybe believing this a little bit more, but I'm going to keep looking because I don't quite feel comfortable trusting this yet. So the first result is a Wikipedia article about meteorites. Okay. The next one is a National Geographic headline that says the true story of history's only known meteorite victim. That sounds like it might be it. So I click on that. Oh, there's that same picture. I trust National Geographic. They're a very well-trusted organization. So here we go. And usually you want to skim a little bit because sometimes headlines can be deceiving. Whoops, don't want to sign in right now. Oh, I guess I have to subscribe. I must have clicked on it too many times, so I ran out of my free my free views of National Geographic. Okay, so what we can do is we can keep going and we can see if there's something else. Ah, Smithsonian. Smithsonian is a wonderful museum and archive, so I'll click on that one. Okay, Alabama woman, the only known human to be injured by a meteorite. Wow. So there we go. In my mind, completely trustworthy. This poor lady got hit by a meteorite. And if I wanted to learn more about the details, I could read this article about it and how she got hit. So doing these image searches to check, remember we had that example of the bloody tissue where someone said that they got beat up at a Black Panther movie preview, and there was that picture of the bloody tissue as proof that they got beat up. This is how you would prove. You would right-click the picture, and then you would see that old Flickr account where the same picture was posted from 10 years before. So that's how you would double check that. Okay. So I'm going to close out of that. And I mentioned, you know, for those who are not fans of Google, there's a couple other options for doing these reverse image searches. Yandex and TinEye. Those are other places that can do the same thing, you know, if you don't feel like using Google. Myself, I'm a Google fan, but I know not everybody is. Okay, so the next one is geolocation. Now this one takes a little work. This one's, you know, if this is one of your hills to die on, you might use this tool. Basically what you're doing is kind of what we did in the picture of France. You're confirming that a location actually happened at the location that it said. And we can use Google Earth to do this, you know, the street view where you can actually see, you know, what it's like if you were driving through an area. You can use that. And you also just use a keen eye. You know, if we had been able to see that language a little closer on the posters, we could see, you know, there was French language there. There would be French, you know, in France. So I have another example of this one. Again, another post from Reddit. It says, Muslims receive permission to gather for social distancing prayers at an IKEA parking lot in Germany. And then it has a screenshot of a Twitter post and it has a picture of what looks like a lot of people in a parking lot. And it has a little bit more about the story that Muslims asked if they could use the parking lot for prayer. IKEA said yes. What a nice story. You know, it's using emotions, you know, oh, that's really kind. You know, they didn't want to meet indoors to spread the coronavirus. They wanted to do it outdoors. But as we know, this easily could have been faked. So what we can do is we ask those questions. First, is the post real? Did this person actually post it? So if we go back to the actual post, the screenshot shows the name of the user. So I just Googled that user, and I'll pull up his account right here. So here's his post. It does have it is a little bit different. It's a different photo. It's different wording, but it's the same story. And okay. It's a little closer photo because so you can actually see the people a little bit more. Okay, so that's leaning me more towards trusting this. There's even a link to BBC, which I trust the BBC too, so I might click on that and read. But I want to practice that geolocation skill. So what I'm going to do is figure out where in Germany this was taken. It mentioned it was Germany. And, you know, IKEAs are not like Starbucks. They're not IKEAs in every corner. IKEAs are quite large, and there's usually one per region. So I just did a quick Google of IKEAs in Germany. Excuse me. And so here, this is Google Maps that I'm using here. And here's an IKEA in Germany. And I can't remember how many IKEAs there were in Germany, but there weren't very many. It was quite easy to find this. And so here's the IKEA right here in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to see, is this the same place? Does the parking lot match the picture? So we zoom in. Here's the big building. I don't know if you guys have been into an IKEA, but they're giant. Okay, so here's the parking lot. Okay, so if we go back to the picture. Okay, and this one's again kind of tiny, but you can see in this picture there are little covered, maybe covered walkways or covered shopping cart corrals. I'm not quite sure, but there's little sort of connectors between each parking lot row that are rectangular in shape. And then I can also see on the right-hand side, there's a curving road that is right next to the parking lot. Okay, so if I go back to the map, I can see there are covered, probably shopping cart corrals in between each parking area. No, that's probably true of a lot of parking lots in the world. But it's a sign that this is legitimate. But then we also, if you come over here on the right-hand side, there is a curving road that goes into it. Okay, that shows us that it matches too. What I can also do is, there was another photo on this guy's post at a different angle. So I can see, okay, here's another angle. You know, all IKEAs look pretty much the same, so I can't really compare the picture of the IKEA. But I do see that this parking lot is unique, that it seems like there's tar in the middle, but the actual places where the actual cars park are like cement. They're lighter in color. So that's unique there. So if I go back to my Google Maps, I can see, yeah, there's that different coloring in the parking lot. You know, there's this dark strip in the middle, and then for each carport, there's a lighter area. So there's 3 things there that match up. I don't feel like I need to confirm this anymore. For me, this is fact checked. This is true. This IKEA was great. You know, it let the Muslims pray outside so they could avoid spreading the coronavirus. Great news. So that can be a lot of fun too, is to play with Google Maps and to figure out, is the location true that they're talking about? So I have a couple examples here, and we have a few minutes left, and I'm assuming it's okay to go a little bit over again today too, but I want to stop if you guys have questions, anything that popped up.
I do want to say, Miranda, that I think you make a really good point about kind of understanding what our personal level is of feeling satisfied or not. because it is different for everybody. There's an overwhelmingness aspect to it, especially if you're down a rabbit hole or something.
Yeah.
So, as much as we can't know the truth about everything, to have that satisfaction or that support or doubt about something, that as long as we're kind of okay with that after. I feel like I'm not explaining.
Yeah, well, I explain it to my middle school students. It's like a continuum.
Yeah.
You know? You're in the middle where you don't know whether you're trusted or not, and then each piece of evidence you get moves you closer to trusting it. And you're never, I mean, I don't want to say never, but you're rarely going to feel like 100,000% yes. But you move closer to it, and you decide where you're comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think there are a lot of people that either don't do this at all and are satisfied with that not knowing, and there are a lot of people who want to feel 100%. So understanding that you're gonna fall in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rabbit holes on the internet. A lot. I've found many of them. So if no one else has any questions they want to pop up, I have these 3 examples, and we can pick one and do our own practice of figuring out, whether it's trustworthy or not. We've got one of some widowed penguins watching a skyline. We've got one of a phone that can charge a wireless toothbrush. And we've got Mark Spitz, who apparently trolled the Russian Olympic team to all grow mustaches. So you guys can pick one, or I can go with my favorite. Either way, you guys can vote and see if any of those spark your interest. I got 1 vote for Mark Spitz. That's my favorite one. Okay, I'll do that one since it was the first vote. Okay, so the details is that he jokingly told the Russian team, or the Russian team coach, in 1972, that his mustache actually, was hydrodynamic, made him swim faster. It deflected the water away from his mouth. And apparently the next year, every Russian swimmer was sporting a mustache. They believed it, and they said, "Oh, well, we got to have a mustache so we can swim faster." So what method would you guys use to figure this out? What would be your first step?
Remember, you can unmute everyone too if you would like to speak.
Let's find a photo of the 1972 Russian Olympic team.
Yes. That was actually the first thing that I did.
Is it?
So I Googled Russian swimming team. I spelled Russian wrong. Sorry about that. Okay, so I see Olympic.org. Okay, it's talking about Mark Spitz in Russia, but let's see. Okay, there's some pictures. Now let's see if we can, sometimes if we go to the images tab of results, it will tell us where the photos are, so we can not just click on random photos, but we know where they come from first. So this is, yeah, so I was gonna click on this one, but now that I read the heading, it's water polo. This says men's swim team, doesn't say anything about Russia. So there's a lot of pictures of swimmers, but it's not getting into the Russian piece of it. So what you can do, this is another little tip, is you can put quotes around the word that is a must. You must have Russian in the results. and then it will filter it and go through and pick stuff that only has Russia somewhere in the description. But I'm not really seeing anything. I'm seeing that same meme again, that same screenshot of the story. But I'm not seeing anything that is, like a team photo of Russia. Oh, it's basketball. Yeah, sometimes image results can be a little wonky. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything here. So I could keep going down this path of trying to find a photo of the Russian swim team. I've done it and I didn't find anything. I didn't have the right resources, so I wasn't able to find anything. So what else might we do? What I thought of doing, and I saved a couple of screenshots here, is I actually did find a photo that showed a swim team. I don't know if you can tell, but they're just Sharpied mustaches. Someone drew mustaches on this whole swim team. And I was like, here's the evidence. And I was like, no. So in that path, I did find this, but it is someone Sharpied a picture with thing. And I don't even know if it's a Russian team, but this was shown as, quote, evidence of the team all having mustaches. So the other thing I did find, though, is when I Googled just Mark Spitz mustache Russia, I came up with this website called SwimSwam, and it's a website for swimming enthusiasts. And I found that out by checking the About Us page. And it's 10 things you didn't know about Mark Spitz. And so I scrolled down and I did a quick scan of seeing mustache. Okay, here. His mustache became a fashion trend among swimmers. Spitz's look was classic 70s no-swim goggles and a greasy mustache. When asked about his mustache by a Russian coach in the 72 Olympics, Spitz's reply was that his mustache didn't slow him down and that it deflected water away and provided streamlining. According to Spitz, the following year, all male Russian swimmers had a mustache. Okay, so we know that's according to him. Now, he might have some motivations to embellish a story or make up a story, or maybe he knows because he was there. So there's one person, the subject of the story said it happened. That's a little bit of evidence towards maybe it happened. At least he's saying it happened, but did it really happen? And then if you click this link, it takes you to a YouTube video of an interview with Mark Spitz actually saying the story. So not only is an article about him saying it's true, there's a video of him saying it's true. But still, it's only him saying it. There's no Russian people confirming this. There's no photo that I found yet of him saying this. And I'll tell you, I've scrolled through hundreds of comments on Reddit about this, and no one has posted a picture of it. And usually that's what people do is on Reddit, people are good at finding evidence. And I haven't seen a photo of someone confirming this. So to me, my conclusion is that this is sort of swimming lore, and maybe someone, Mark Spitz, noticed someone with a mustache the year after he said this, but I doubt it was the whole team. I doubt it was as dramatic as he's saying it is. And that's my own conclusion. But if you were a swimming enthusiast and wanted to find that photo to see if there really was a whole team with mustaches, you could probably go to some Russian archives and you could find it. So good. So yeah, that's, I like to do just for fun, just fact check a thing or two. If free time is hard to find, but if you find yourself with some free time, pick something wonky that you see online and just test it out and see if you can figure out whether you trust it or not. So that's all I had for today. If anyone else has any other questions, I can hang around for a little bit, but I think that it was fun to have you guys interact with some of those interactive pieces.
Miranda, again, this was very informative, even as, and I said this last time, I think even as a fellow librarian, I mean, you definitely are very thorough and went through stuff today that, I didn't realize some of those tools were accessible, and they're very cool.
Now I have I think it's the News Literacy Project has quick videos of how to do each of these things. And I'll make a little note to send that to you so it can be sent out.
Okay.
I just found it last week, so I was like, ooh, perfect.
Does anyone else have any questions? I want to make sure I'm going to send you in the chat, but I'll email it out again, our registration link for our final presentation on February 6th.
I would like to.
What is February 6th agenda going to be?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk more about social media and responsibilities of social media, and I guess focusing more on the social media aspect and that world of sharing things quickly and what to do there. And we could do a little more fact checking too, because that's always fun.
Thank you. It was very good, very informative. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Patricia, were you going to say something else?
I was. I think I was going to make a social comment, and that is that this is just so valuable. I'm so glad that you recorded it. And I really hope it goes virtual on YouTube because my goodness, we need it.
It's true. Yes. The basic skills I think that everyone should know.
Yes.
Yes, so I will actually probably stop recording right now.